Welcome to Refused Flank, a wargaming podcast exploring the intersection of competitive excellence and narrative storytelling potential. Hey, this is Cam.
And this is Grant.
And this is Refused Flank, back again with our regular podcast of the week. After
Not just be mumbling.
Yep, taking a brief break to have a paint and chat with Grant. So thanks again for doing that, filling in for us on last week's episode. I've been out of the country for about a month working on a film, so just haven't really been around to be able to schedule making these podcasts. So, but we're back now, and we're recording this just a few days before it'll be airing, right before Halloween. And we just want to talk a little bit, catch up with each other, with you guys, about what we've been doing hobby-wise. Obviously, my own hobby stuff has been a little bit limited, but I still have some stuff to talk about. But you've still been painting, gaming, getting stuff in, so we're just going to chat a little bit about that.
Sure, yeah. And before we get into it, just again, I said this in the paint and chat, but shout outs to all the viewers for the Battletech video,
wow, I logged in, it was like 1,500 views or whatever.
There is a lot of views on that video. I'm not sure why the algorithm picked up on it could just so much.
Yeah, it could tell how excited you were about Battletech.
So
people
I don't
need to know.
But thanks to all those viewers. Really appreciate it. That's by far our most successful episode.
Yeah, check out our other videos too. You know, we've got some, I hope, interesting things to say about non-Battletech
So if you
stuff.
liked that, hopefully you like other things too. But yeah, we'll definitely get to Battletech more, I'm sure, in the future. But without further ado, so what have you been doing? Maybe we'll do popcorn. What's one big thing you've been doing this past month or so?
I guess just going chronologically, right before I left on this gig, there was a meetup event that I think I mentioned in a previous episode with some Midwest Carnage Club people, and drove over.
Where is that hosted, do you know? Or is it okay to say?
Their vibe is just like wherever people want to show up in the Midwest. So they're kind of bouncing around.
Neat.
This one was in Lansing, so drove over there. But so it was focused around this time Necropolis28, and I think we've talked a little bit before about the whole 28 movement and how that came out of Inquisitor 28 or Inc 28, which started as just the way to play the old Inquisitor 40K skirmish game in 28 millimeter rather than 54 millimeter. But it's now spawned this whole movement of like, let's be really gritty and grimdark about everything. And so then we can just tack 28 on the end of something. And that just means more the aesthetic of what you're doing and the vibe of being more narrative driven than it does anything else, really.
Right.
So this is a complete rule set called Necropolis28. And it's got all those vibes and everything, but you play as an undead warband. There's a few different flavors of undead warband you can choose from. And it kind of gives you a little lore of like, oh, what are you after in this ancient, or not this ancient, but this future where the whole world is dead. Like there are no living things anymore. And so that's why everybody's playing undead warbands, because you're in this world of undead.
I'm pro undead and undeath, I guess.
But it was a really cool opportunity for me. The organizers asked if anybody wants to build a table for it. It plays on an 18-inch by 18-inch battlefield. So it's just a cool opportunity to build a small battlefield like that. And it was really cool seeing the other people who brought their battlefields. I'm trying to think, we had probably like 6 that got brought. And they're kind of like little mini dioramas that then you get to play on, which is fun.
How many games did you play in this meetup?
I think we did a 3-round kind of like mini tournament type thing. So 3 games each.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was fun. But I think my board turned out all right. I didn't end up actually playing on my own board, so still have to get a game in on that. But I think it's also going to work for Relic Blade, which I play more of. But Necropolis 28 is also very easy to pick up. So I think that would be easy just to teach people. It plays really quickly. And
you only need, a few minis, right?
Yeah, I think my warband had maybe 4 in it.
Okay,
so you got your like Necromancer, Revenant dude or whatever, and then a few mooks. So
I've got almost 200 undead, so I've got enough
you
to
ought to
pick.
be able to.
I should be able to play.
Yeah.
I hope.
I was a little bummed. I spent so much time working on my board that I just used existing miniatures to kind of cobble together my warband rather than making a bespoke warband that really had a tied together aesthetic and everything. And after seeing some of the other people who like, oh yeah, I made this warband and did all these conversions for this event, I was like, oh, that's so cool. I wish I would have done that.
Is it kind of like, because you mentioned it's a future, is it like sci-fi undead?
No, it's all medieval.
It's fantasy?
Yeah, medieval fantasy.
Couldn't tell. Just making sure.
But that would be cool too. You probably could just play it that way. But yeah, it's definitely one of those more about the vibes type of games. So the rules are very light and pretty loose, and you just kind of like go with the flow sort of thing.
Sure.
But a couple of the elements that I really liked are that you can, every hero character which again, you can be a little more fighty or a little more spellcasty. You can kind of choose between those. But either way, you'd always get the resurrection spell. And so you can resurrect your minions. And so it matters a lot less when your guys die, which is always kind of an issue in skirmish games where you only have a handful of dudes. And like when they start dying, there can be this snowball effect. But being able to resurrect them means you can be a little bit more risk-taking with some of your actions.
Sure.
One thing we saw a lot of was models jumping off of high elevations to land on other models, which does damage to then both models, and you would usually die, but you'd probably kill the other model as well. And so you could just nuke people like that, which could be fun. And then just resurrect your guys on the next turn.
Death from above, BattleTech fans.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. And another really interesting thing about the system is that you're never rolling dice to find out if what you attempted to do succeeded or failed. You're just rolling to see how much it succeeded.
Oh, interesting.
So every time you attack someone, there's a base amount of damage that you're going to do.
Okay.
And then if you succeed at your skill check, you'll do more damage than that baseline, is more or less how it works.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So you never do nothing. I like that.
Yeah. So that again leans into like, we're just here having fun. Like we all just want stuff to happen and cool things to happen. And that was a really interesting experience. I think, especially after talking a few weeks ago about different combat resolution.
Yeah.
And that sometimes there's like a weird thing where it's like, I just rolled like 3 or 4 series of dice rolls to find out that nothing happened. Yeah. So this is the opposite. There's one dice roll and it's something was going to happen either way. So that was a lot of fun. I think it really added to the feeling of the pace of the game and, you know, that it's action oriented and things like that. So it was a lot of fun.
Is it a typical game like less than an hour or an hour or so?
I would say easily, yeah, especially once you know the system. A lot of, like, half the people hadn't played before, myself included.
Yeah.
And some of those people hadn't even really read the rules. And even then, I think the first games, even with some chatting, really only took about an hour. And then after that, definitely a lot faster.
Right.
So, and they've got a bunch of cool scenarios in the book. It's all free that you can download and everything.
Cool.
But different stuff you're trying to do. They've got a little campaign system in there as well if you want to play linked games, which we did a little bit of. Obviously we were just playing 3 games, but you could like get gold and then buy some stuff in between missions and things like that. So it was a cool little experience. So yeah, I think for me the takeaways were, yeah, just get out there, meet people you maybe don't meet up with regularly, and you'll just get inspired to do different things, try different things, and you can have a good time. So, you know, maybe check out a store you haven't gone to or see what's going on in the next town over, that kind of a thing. Search around online, see if there's just other groups that maybe are just outside of your bubble that maybe you could break into and chat with, learn from, all that sort of stuff.
And with games like these, it's so easy to get started and so low because you didn't have to paint any minis. You just basically, you could have, and now you volunteered to do the board, but you could have just shown up and like done no prep.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, which again is just a nice thing about skirmish games in general.
For sure.
That low model count, and once you have enough of a collection, it is pretty easy just to pull things together. I mean, we found that with one-page rules as well. That is like, oh yeah, I just have enough stuff that I can just...
We can just make this work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that was just a ton of fun. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed building the table for it, or the battlefield for it, and I'm looking forward to using it some more, trying it again. Maybe we'll get a game in of something on there, whether that's Relic Blade, one-page rules, something or another. Warhammer Skirmish we could do on there. Could
Warhammer
be fun.
Skirmish would be cool.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll post some pictures of the table, how it looked.
It looks pretty cool. I saw one quick one, and it looks pretty awesome. So.
Yeah, it was cool. Cool to try out some new techniques as well. That I hadn't really tried before, to do like realistic rock face looking stuff.
I'm gonna have to chat with you on that because not to interrupt, but I want to do rock basing for my Skaven army. I've been really waffling on what to do for that, and I just kind of want a gray rock. I think it'll contrast well.
Yeah,
I'm generally
the
going
tones
from
of the skin and stuff.
The skin and the greenish yellow, but the cloth is kind of warm as well. So I'm thinking cold. Again, I'm always thinking contrast. So
yeah, well, I followed a old terrain tutor tutorial on YouTube. So
just for the color. Okay, well, good to know.
But it worked pretty well. It was a fun process.
Okay, sweet.
What do you got? What have you been up to?
I've had 3, I guess, big game events in October. It's been a pretty packed October. In terms of life, I'll start with 40K because that's been the big hotness in our group that we're mainly in. I played 2 games. One was a 2 versus 1 with 2 750 point forces versus a 1500 point, And then another one was like a very, very custom scenario game of 2v2 of two 750 point lists. I played my Night Lords. That's really my only 40k faction, and our group isn't quite I would say we haven't built up like backlogs of armies.
Right.
We're newer to that system. Is that fair to say? I think some of us have kind of two forces to pick between.
Yeah.
But even then, I wouldn't say, other than maybe one guy who's got a very sizable and good pool of models for his Blood Angels. I don't know if anybody, maybe you do, have like
I got a decent
of
amount of orcs, a decent amount of Space Marine / Imperial Guard / Witch Hunters.
Sure.
And I do have I think I could put together 1,500 points of Tau. It's just they're mostly unpainted. So.
Oh, I didn't realize you had that much Tau. Okay. So, well, I guess other than you, it sounds like only a few guys have more than one force. And a lot of people are just on their first one, which happens to be like Space Marines.
Right.
You know, so.
Got to do them sometime.
We had a power armor fest, basically. But I'll just go over the games really briefly. The first one was just a 2v1. We just played very little prep. It was just let's roll a scenario out of the book. We did that. We got the one where you have to like control points at the end of the game.
That's a solid scenario.
It's fine. It makes you get out. I think modern 40k has kind of learned this, but if you turn 40k especially, I think it works better for fantasy where you have to end the game close to it, because fantasy just CC is more important generally. 40k you can just shoot people off of these things, and because it's, in my opinion, it almost feels more lethal earlier. I don't know, it varies, because fantasy you can have a whole unit just like panic off the table, so it gets kind of hard to really equate those.
Yeah, that's fair. But generally shooting is more deadly.
Shooting is much more deadly, especially 4th ed, which I feel like is pretty balanced between the two. But it felt like I was on the 2-player side, and we were just kind of able to shoot him off the board before the game even got to the end of turn 6, where he basically just had no models. I think we ended turn 6, he had like 2 guys.
Man, was that due to poor positioning, hot rolling on your part, bad dice rolling on his armor saves?
I don't want to... In my opinion, it was a little bit of good positioning and thought on our part. We got lucky getting first turn, which I think is a big deal in 40k. We were able to, we both sides had like a Predator Annihilator, which if you're not sure what those are, listeners, they're like super anti-tank tanks. They have like really strong anti-tank guns.
Those ones with the las cannons?
Yes. Okay. So he's got a twin-linked las cannon and then las cannon sponsons. So both sides had those. And basically we got first turn, so our shot at his, we actually didn't kill it, but we like shook it or something. And then I had obliterators, or no, it wasn't the oblits that killed it. I have a Chaos Havoc squad, which is like their heavy weapons squad, and I shot at it with them and killed it with them. That proved to be kind of big. And then he had like assault terminators with lightning claws, and he deployed them behind this terrain so we couldn't see them. But they're just 6-inch move guys, so they're very slow. They're very tanky theoretically, but they just kind of like came around, and he deployed them, and I kind of counter deployed something with AP2 weapons.
Oh yeah,
namely the obliterators. They have access to AP2, so he kind of like came around the corner one time, and I just shot with both oblits, killed 2, even with their invulns. They're 5-ups, so he just failed 2 5-ups, and I was like, yep, feeling pretty good. He's down to 3 out of 5, and then he basically just ran them behind cover again, so they didn't like impact the game. It just felt like we were able to shoot at him a lot, and he kind of was then just reacting and trying to hide. We did try some units we've never tried before. My compatriot, we kind of did this mishmash of chaos. I was Night Lords, and he was playing Red Corsairs. So he summoned some Chaos Furies, which are demons. Demons are cool, I think, in this book, because they kind of, in the 3.5 codex, because they like deep strike in after you summon them, kind of. Right. And they like scatter a little bit, and they kind of, I think we got a direct hit or something, I forget. So a bunch of Furies show up, but unlike most deep strikes where you're just stuck there, demons get to move and activate after they show up.
Yeah, that's huge.
So yeah, definitely huge. So they got to move up and like assault some scouts who were in cover.
Nice.
And they beat the scouts in cover. Furies aren't the scariest thing, but they're pretty darn fighty still, and scouts are just okay, I guess, in the grand scheme of 40k. They're still Marine stat-wise, but their armor's not as good. So we wiped them out, and it just ended up being us kind of suffocating him to death, and then kind of playing a little bit of hide. He killed a lot of stuff at the end. He had one big squad of Terminators, like shooty ones, with a bunch of double assault cannons.
Oh, man.
And he had a Terminator librarian who was like super kitted out. I think we asked him how many points it cost. I think it was like almost 200 points on this one model. And we basically just shot him full of plasma. We just shot him with plasma repeatedly. He took a lot to kill, but we eventually just killed him.
Did he kill anything?
I think he killed some. He killed some of my what are they called? Raptors.
Oh, okay.
Chaos Raptors. He killed some. He didn't kill all of them, but he killed some. He kind of rolled poorly with his attack rolls.
That's always a bummer.
I think the problem with the librarian is he's still just weapon skill 4. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that. So I don't think he rolled great to hit.
Like the Empire Warrior Priest problem.
Yeah, so he just doesn't hit a lot. Although if he hits, he's got like this force weapon. So it's like, doesn't matter how many wounds you have. If I pass it, you just die. So he can just like slaughter multi-wound models instantly. So he was a pretty scary dude, but we kind of played cagey and were very aware of the power of that guy in melee. Mm-hmm. So we were just, I don't know, cagey.
So did you then move up on the objectives at the end after wiping him, or is it just like you tabled him almost, so you just called it?
Well, we played aggressively as we were kind of killing him, so we moved up kind of as we were going. There ended up, I believe, only being 4 objectives. I think it was 3 plus D3, and something we rolled like 1 on that roll. So 1 basically ended up being in both of our deployment zones. I just put this Havocs on ours, so they were just there the whole time. They don't want to move anyways. I don't even think they ever got shot at, so because they were on the way back. He had one over there. We eventually took that one. There was one dead in the middle, and then there was one kind of on his other side of the deployment. He basically ended up contesting the one over there on the back. What would have been our far right. With like a dreadnought that I think we messed that part up a little bit, where it was like it was immobilized with like maybe no weapons left, which we looked up later. Maybe he should have been destroyed, but basically all of our anti-tank shooting, we just never got any destroy results. So he's like just like a pair of legs there that couldn't move, but he like contested, I guess. And he did shoot us off the middle. With his like assault cannon guys, and he even killed our Predator with the assault cannons.
Oh, nice!
So the assault cannons are really strong, as I think anybody who plays 4th Ed knows. But we were able to kind of play this weird cagey game on his back left, where I hid some Raptors out of behind some line of sight blocking terrain, like a silo, and then he kind of had to move to come into the center of the board to do something, because I was just gonna 12-inch jump back move behind it every time, and I just jumped on our like last move to within his objective. So I think it ended up being like 2-0 on objectives with no one in the middle, because he shot us off of it, and then we contested his, and then I had one in my corner and then one in his corner. It was a good game. I think it was a good learning experience for the Termi heavy player. He had just like, I don't know, 15 Terminators.
It's a lot of points.
A couple. He had the Predator Annihilator, the Super Librarian, attack squad, and a dreadnought. Whereas I felt like we were a bit more numerous. Maybe not by too much.
Unit types and things.
Yeah, so I think that was good. And he, I think, learned that like Lightning Claw Terminators, while definitely scary if you can get there, you got to get them there.
Yeah, you need like a Assault Land Raider or something.
You need a Land Raider, or we were talking like you could have deep struck them. Now they show up and you get shot at, but at least they're there, like kind of there, a lot closer than they would be otherwise. And if he had deep struck close to my heavy support guys, if they then move, I can't shoot them, and they're off the objective. So it's like learning there. It was good. Pardon me, sorry. I don't know. It was a good game. And then that was earlier in October. And then just this past Thursday, so like 4 days ago, we played that more custom scenario. And this was the newest guy to our group. Kind of just took it on himself. Yeah. I learned kind of afterwards, him and the other new guy basically conspired together to build this really custom scenario. I think he's still kind of learning the rules a little bit. I think he's got most of it down, but some of the specifics, and he was like backporting, I think, a few things from 10th, things like that. But it was basically this huge board. We played on what I believe was an 8x4.
Oh, wow.
And then there was like an extra like side table adjacent to it. I don't know how big the side table was, but it ended up being like a little bit of a T, for lack of a better word. And we deployed on the short table edges. So what I mean by that is we had a 12-inch deployment zone. We had 6 feet apart from each other,
Wow.
which when I kind of like realized that, because he sent us some pictures what the tables looked like. And he was like, yeah, we're going to do this. And I'm like, oh, we're going to be 6 feet apart, like 6 feet. Like, and this game, normally you start 2 feet apart.
Right.
You know, so I'm like,
It's a lot of ground to cover.
we're going to take a long
Hope you brought
time to be able to
transports.
shoot anything. And basically, it really just influenced my build. I don't have a huge model pool to draw from. And I really waffled back and forth, actually, on a couple lists, but ended up just going with kind of a body spam one with some infiltrating traders, which were really good on that board. He had some infiltrating scouts, too, which were also good. But
Did they get to go toe-to-toe with each other?
they did, actually.
Nice.
We both infiltrated like to the middle piece of terrain, kind of. And then turn one, he had all these custom like hidden objectives. We knew what 2 of them were, which was fuel, and then we were supposed to take the fuel to like an escape pod thing or an evac zone, and whoever did that first would win. And he said also, and I think this was a good learning experience for him, there was no turn limit.
Oh, yeah. So it just
To
goes
which
until it ends.
It just goes until it ends, to which I was like, okay, I'm looking at my team, I'm like, we'll just probably kill all of them, and then we'll, maybe that's me being a terrible person, but I'm like, hey, they got the first turn. He picked up with his like infiltrating scouts the like secret objective in that area, and it ended up being like the bad one, and it was like Dark Rune or something, I think is what he called it. And he says 2 of my scouts have their soul sucked out.
Oh, wow.
And then they collapse as their souls are put into the warp, and I'm like, oh well, that was nice. And then I did like a move through cover roll, got like a 5 or a 6, moved them all up. This was 9 traders with just auto guns, which are really bad, and then 1 flamer.
Okay.
Flamer, we were pretty close to each other at that point, and flamer caught like all 3, and then I
Nice.
rapid fired with the other guys. So this was like 18 shots. Now, admittedly, they're hitting on 4s, wounding on 5s, and he gets a 4-up save, but between those 18 shots and the flamer, wiped the remaining 3 of the scouts. So I killed all the scouts. That was cool. The rest of turn 1, I don't think really anything happened. They moved up. They had a very melee-focused build, so they had like Ultramarines, Vanilla Marines, and then they had Blood Angels from 4th. The Blood Angel player had a couple attack squads, but because, again, you have to move up. All the heavy weapons couldn't shoot. Rapid-fire weapons can only shoot
does
12
make it
inches. So it was like basically very little shooting occurred in those opening rounds. So... and the Predators, we both had Predator Annihilators again, and they just drove up like 12 inches. And then there was this interesting game of, we all know we started 12 inches up, we moved 12, and then it's like who moves into each other's kill zone, theoretically, or whatever. And that was kind of fun. We ended up kind of, I think, winning that math off, I guess, a little bit, because we got first shot, and then that ended up, again, being pretty important, because we didn't kill the tank, but we stunned it. We stunned the crew, so it couldn't move or shoot next turn, which is, again, sure, we got to shoot it at it again, but
it's not shooting you.
But it's not shooting us, so it buys you another turn to basically try again.
Yeah.
And they didn't have enough other things shooting at us at that point to really threaten, so it's like, kill the tank. They didn't have nearly as much armor. Me and my teammate talked about trying to do kind of an armor value skew a little bit too. So I took, admittedly, fewer than him, but I had a Dreadnought. He had a Dreadnought, he had a Razorback, and he had a Predator. So we had 4 units with armor values, whereas they had 2. They had 1 Furioso Dread and the Predator. And I feel like despite us having twice as many like tanks or whatever vehicles, I think we had more bodies too. But part of that was like, again, he had the super crazy librarian who cost a lot, and then the Blood Angel player brought Dante, who by himself is 200 points.
Wow.
So just a lot of expensive units, and then there was, of course, there was Terminators and such.
Yeah.
He did Deep Strike that time with some Terminators. They didn't end up doing a ton. the problem is again, he deep struck in like the middle of the board on a teleport homer to minimize scatter. Basically, he couldn't scatter, so that was cool, but then it's just a bunch of lightning claw termies basically following behind slowly some assault marines, and they can't keep up.
Yeah,
the assault marines move double the speed, so it kind of became this weird thing where we just adjusted. I guess the really exciting turn of the game was like turn 3. I deep struck some obliterators into that like side table where the evac thing was. And apparently my teammate knew this, and so did the host on the other side. But when whoever moved in would summon 2 Carnifexes.
Nice, that's fun.
And I didn't know that. And nobody and my teammate did a very good job. I no hints, had no idea this was coming. So I deep struck, they just appeared. Then there was a lot of like discussion over how this actually worked.
Nice.
So I think we could have maybe smoothed that over if we do it again. But I guess the intention was and is one goes after one army, one goes after another. And I'm like, well, which one? And they basically said, well, if you shoot at one, we'll say that one goes at you and the other one will go the other way. So we kind of did a lot of debating on that. And we didn't shoot at it with much, but I had the oblits there. And they were very close to me. They were like right there. So I'm like, well, I've got Melta. So I shot him with 2 Melta guns, did 2 wounds. So he was half dead.
Yeah.
But then on his turn, the bug's turn, it just, moved up, shot me. I think he missed with his gun. He had like a custom, he like backported bioplasma to be a gun instead of, I don't know. There's some stuff I'm not quite sure on how it works, frankly. But it missed, I think. He charged in, rolled really bad on his attack rolls. He got 1 hit, and then he was like, it wounds. I'm like, strength 9. I'm like, well, it's on a 2, and then sure enough, he rolled it and got a 1. And I'm like, that's why I make you roll.
Oh, man.
And then I was all like, I'm going to kill him with power fists, because I've got power fists. And then I only did, I think, 1 wound with the power fist.
Nice.
So I'm like, oh, crap. So now he's going to hit me again. And then we proceeded to the next round, like, this is a problem with 40K, I think, in general. Maybe more modern 40K handles it better, but as soon as you have 3 sides, how do you do combat? And that kind of came up again, because it's like, do you do a combat after every player's turn?
Right, or is it just the ones they're involved in?
Right, so it gets kind of weird. So we played it where we would only fight the bugs at the end of like the player's turn. It was a little weird. But I don't know how you do that exactly well or better. But it took a long time. Basically, my oblits and the bug were fighting each other for like 2 more turns. He killed 1 oblit. I rolled really good on a lot of invulnerable saves. They had 5 up invulns. But he did kill 1, and then eventually the other one finally like got the hit through. Because I had 1 turn where I rolled 4 power fists and missed with all of them.
Wow. Rough.
But I mean, frankly, I couldn't complain, because at that point they were getting kind of stuffed a little bit. And they were moving along, I guess, the bottom of the board, our right flank, very aggressively with all their assault troops. Whereas all of our just like basic Marines were like shifting to our left, basically to like jump out at us, you won't get the charge, and then we'll shoot you. And then we had like 2 dreadnoughts there. We had the Predator still. Wow. We had like a lot of mostly tacs and attack equivalents. I had like a lot of plasma guns though, so they were pretty scared of that. Eventually, though, they just kind of had to do it, because otherwise we were just going to stand still and shoot them at 24-inch range. And I'm like, well, you're either going to come or you're not, and we'll just shoot you, because you have pistols.
Was there like not enough terrain to give them options to cover that without being seen? That
was another thing. I think we were maybe too liberal with line of sight blocking. There was a lot of there was one like big piece of terrain in the middle that blocked a lot of line of sight, but then a lot of other stuff didn't.
Yeah.
So there was pretty long sight lines. They definitely hid behind things and they got cover. But usually your safest bet was just things were so far away from each other, we couldn't like actually reach anything. So there were several times I know I shot like my Dread's plasma cannon at things and it was out of range. And I had a 36-inch range gun. So I'm like, I think I'm in. And I was like, I was 39. And I'm like, okay, well, next time. And then the Chaos Dreadnought.
That's the fun thing about being on a huge table, though.
It is
that
true.
Ranges actually matter again.
For sure.
Some of the things it is like, oh, yeah, I'm always in.
Right, definitely. But I just found that it resulted in we had a more shooting skew, for sure. And part of that was me just being like, as soon as I saw pictures of the table and like understood how we were deploying, I like looked at my teammate. I'm like, we need to have a lot of guns. And then I don't think the Blood Angels player really understood that, maybe, because he had like a lot of melee. They had like scouts with just pistols and close combat weapons with their scout loadout.
Yeah.
So it's like they were geared to like get in and chop people, but we were like geared to just shoot you.
Yeah.
And when you start 6 feet apart, the shoot you side does
Lasts
a little better.
Lot longer, yeah.
Yeah, that too. So, and as you kind of mentioned, there wasn't enough maybe line of sight blocking terrain.
I guess maybe on just that large of a board, you would need more of it so that
Yeah.
you're not just getting shot to pieces. But.
For sure. It was weird. It was very like nobody got like picked off the table like in whole swaths. But I don't know how many turns we played because frankly, after it was said turn length doesn't matter, we didn't really keep track.
Yeah,
so we
sense.
might have played like 8 turns. I'm
Yeah.
not sure, but a lot of them went a lot faster because there just wasn't as much shooting.
Right.
So we might have played 8 or 9 turns, but basically it ended up being like by the end of it, all of the Blood Angel models were gone. Dante got killed because we like had a turn where I was kind of describing they were on our right flank and we're all over on our what would have been our deployment's left flank. They just kind of had to gum at us. And so he jumps up out of cover and is like, okay, if I survive next turn, Dante and a few of his guard will get to attack. And then the other Space Marine player does it with his Assault Marines. He actually made it into combat. The other guy did. Against,
So you just mowed down all the Blood Angels and none of them made it into combat?
Basically what happened was he got into the charge. The other Marine player didn't do well in his attack rolls. I think he had 12 attacks because I think he had 4 Assault Marines left in that squad. Did probably one of the worst attack rolls. This is where it's like when you hit on 4s. I know I've described this again. Where it's
really
just like,
go either way.
Yeah, and I think he hit on like 3 out of 12.
Wow.
So it was terrible. Wow. And then I don't think he killed anybody basically because again, then you have to wound on 4s and then we get 3-up saves. So he just did nothing. I don't think we really killed much either, but if any. So we just stuck. But then on our turn, I was like, okay, you have a Dreadnought really close. We're going to charge the Dreadnought and you're just going to pick up Marines, basically, because he had a close combat weapon. And then I said, and everybody else, the biggest, scariest thing, because there were still those Terminators, the Lightning Claw ones, kind of in the center of the board. But I'm like, those guys are like 2 turns away from like moving at us. Everything has to shoot at Dante. So we literally like, I moved up some Marines, double rapid-fired plasma guns and bolt guns. All my heavy weapons, all the Havoc shot at them. And then eventually also the Annihilator Predator with 3 las cannons. And basically after everything was done on my shooting, it was just Dante left who had like an Iron Halo, 4-up invuln and all this stuff. But basically he just failed a Iron Halo against a las cannon and got instant death.
Oh, ouch.
As it makes sense. So he just basically eventually died. And then Dreadnought charged in, picked up some of the Marines. They can't flee because they're Marines and they shall know no fear. But he fails the check because we outnumber him by 4 to 1 or more because a Dreadnought counts as 10.
Oh, wow.
As 10 guys. Yeah, if their weapon skill 4 it's if they have armor value 12, they count as 10. If they have less than that, they count as 5.
Okay.
So a Sentinel counts as 5, of Dreadnoughts 10 or whatever. But we outnumber him by a bunch. He fails, but then, hey, they go to the no retreat part, which is like, okay, you just get a bunch of free hits. And then it's like he failed another one. He basically had like 1 Marine left. So it ended up being, and then he died next combat round. And by this time, I think my Obliterator had killed the bug. He had like 1 round where he shot a las cannon at the Termi squad, picked one up.
So wait, was Dante not in a squad, or just
Dante
all that
was
shooting
in a squad.
wiped the squad?
We wiped the
and then,
squad.
I see. Okay, yeah.
All the plasma, all the crack missiles, double autocannons. Yeah. So
that's a tough way to go.
Yeah,
to just have your whole army
also worth
shot
noting,
to pieces before you even get to do anything.
Indeed, there was also this rule where at start of turn 2 and every turn after, you would roll a d6 on each squad.
Yeah.
And if you rolled a 6, they would just take a wound. The
I
squad
remember
would
reading
take
that in
a
the chat.
wound.
Yeah.
And that I think disproportionately affected them. We had a few guys die for sure, but they were usually just like on the mook squads. We did have when it happened to a vehicle, the vehicle became immobilized. That happened to one of our dreads turn one, which kind of stunk because that was the assault cannon one. So I don't know if he got to shoot at anything. Maybe he shot at like one thing the whole game because it's only a 24-inch range.
Yeah.
And just being back 6 more inches just really sets you back or whatever. And but they would have it happen and be like, oh, I just lost a Terminator, or it would happen to Dante's squad, and
now he's
and
closer
then Dante's
to being last cannon.
Yeah, no one. So they had a few just mooks just get picked up from they were saying it was like volcanic activity or something on the planet or something. So a lot of their guys died, and I think our individual guys were just not nearly as potent, but we had more of them.
Right.
So when it hit us, it didn't end up being as big of a deal. But then, hey, you failed it on your Termi squad. Boop, there goes a 40-point guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Where I was like, there goes a 15-point guy or a 14-point guy. So it's just like, so they just got hammered by a lot of those little things. But I think a lot of learning happened both from playing on a board where it was like, we're going to be shooting at each other.
Yeah.
But also like from a scenario design perspective. So we're like, hey, what would you do differently? And he was just like, yeah, this didn't go how I expected to.
Yeah, and
really,
it's his first time doing
that was
a
his
custom
first
scenario.
time. So I was like, no, that's awesome.
That's
just
typical.
take what you did and learn. I said, frankly, me and Cam have been doing that a lot more. And I still say that every time. I'm like, your best laid plans will not happen. It's like they're going to do everything you don't expect.
Exactly.
And you just got to kind of roll with it. So I think that was good. It was a fun game. It was on a Thursday night, so we all had a good fun, and I like playing on those big boards too. I don't know if 4th edition does the best of modeling that. I wonder. I really felt like, and maybe the other players disagree, but like rapid fire weapons are so punished for moving. So it felt like over half of the army on both sides for the first, the first 80% of the game, if I'm honest, just did nothing.
Right.
No shots were exchanged. Now, part of that, you listeners might say, don't start 6 feet apart from each other. But
that's maybe one thing to change in the scenario moving forward.
Indeed. So, but it just felt like Marines, almost none of the guys with rapid fire weapons participated. So it basically ended up being like Salt Marines jumping forward, and then a bunch of heavy weapons guys just kind of exchanging shots.
I wonder if you, on a board that big, did something that was akin to reserves, but that like you have 3 deployment zones.
Sure.
So you have to deploy part of your army like way up, so you are just like
that
18 inches or 2 feet away, and so there's this like front line, but then you have 2 more lines of troops that are moving up as it's happening, and so that maybe keeps the battle happening the whole time, and then have a little bit of a chance to choose, well, I'm going to deploy my assault guys in that front line so that they're closer, or maybe wait, like, oh yeah, because now there's combat happening in the middle, and so if they're coming in the second wave, they're at least maybe not the only target there, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, no,
so
I
that
think
could be an interesting way to approach it, maybe.
I agree with you. I think we could have varied it because we just did like standard deployment.
Yeah.
Kind of alternating, like, okay, you guys put down a unit, then we'll put down a unit. And that's how we did it. But it just, by the end of it, we just had a long line of like Marines and then like tank, dread. So we put all of our armor on our left flank. And I'm just like, we're going to put it all there. We're just going to move forward, and hopefully they just have a hard time picking what to shoot at.
Yeah.
So they ended up killing my dread with some missile launchers, because some of those other hidden things he had around, they weren't all bad. One was like, your squad gets another missile launcher. I picked up on my cultists, like, we got a multi-melta.
Nice.
And I'm like, cool. I don't think I ever used it because they were just moving around every turn.
Right.
Before they got one turn, I moved up, did a bunch of shooting, did nothing, which is, well, it's fine. Honestly, I wasn't even upset because it was like I moved up, got all like 18 shots again, flamed, just did nothing. But again, I'm hitting on 4s, wounding on 5s. He gets 3-up saves on like everything, so it's fine. Not even upset. But then they like return fire with all their they just I get no saves at all, so they just eviscerate the squad. But honestly, it was cool. It was like their biggest probably killy thing that they really did. They didn't deal with their Carnifex either. That was kind of an interesting thing with it moving. It's just slow enough because it only moves 6 inches a turn, despite it being this huge thing, and it had like a shooting attack, but it was still pretty short range. So it felt like they just kind of ignored their bug because they're like, we got to just kill. One of my teammate just deployed a bunch of, he deep struck Terminators with assault cannons in the middle of the board, and they're just shooting up everything too. And it's like, we got to shoot at them. But like the Carnifex is even closer than the Terminators, but they're just ignoring it. So each turn, it was getting like 6 inches closer to their like missile launcher squad. And then by the end of the game, it's like, well, that's just going to charge it, and it wipes the Marines.
Wow.
So
did anybody ever get the fuel and get to the evac ship?
Basically, because we kind of determined, I think I misunderstood. I thought we just had to pick up the fuel and then somebody just needed to be there. But no, we were supposed to pick up the fuel and then walk the unit with the fuel to the thing. And I was like, oh, that's just going to take a long time. So we basically, after the Blood Angel had no models left and the other Space Marine had like maybe 3 miniatures left. Maybe it was more than that, but there was also a Carnifex that was specifically only attacking him on their side. And we still had Predator Annihilator, 3 or 4 Terminators, 2 with assault cannons.
Yeah.
A full squad of Chaos Space Marines, an Obliterator, and a Dreadnought with an assault cannon, and I think maybe a couple of just normal TAC Marines with bolters. So we just kind of were like, this is we're gonna do. We're just gonna keep shooting your assault Terminators, because if we go up, you'll charge us and do a lot of damage. So we're just, and you had the crazy librarian in there too. So we're like, we're just gonna shoot at you, and so yeah, honestly, no. So I think that was kind of part of where he was like, oh, I expected us to be doing that, and he didn't think that we would deep strike into the zone.
Right.
The way he deployed the Carnifexes, where they were like on either side of this like little side table.
Right, because you're expecting that
to
the
go
armies
through
are coming
the middle.
in.
Yeah. But instead it's like, I just deep struck into the back anyway. And then he was like, oh, okay. And fortunately, I like scattered kind of into the middle with my deep strike. So I ended up being like pretty darn close to the Carnifexes. But
so wait, what actually ended the game then?
We got to like turn 8 or 9. This is a guess on the turn count. And basically, we were just going to kill all their models. And we had like guys probably within a turn of the fuel. And then it would have just been us basically moving 6 inches a turn.
Right, and they never would catch you kind of thing, or not have guys left to catch you.
They would probably all be dead.
Yeah.
I think the problem was the Carnifex was going to turn around because it had just wiped a squad of theirs. And it was going to turn around and then start fighting the Terminators. Now, frankly, the Librarian would probably instant kill the Carnifex before the Carnifex gets to swing. So the Carnifex isn't a huge deal, but they have to deal with minimum 4 las cannons a turn, and 3 assault cannons, 2 plasma guns, and then associated bolters for probably 2 to 3 or 4 rounds, while they maybe get to shoot back with like 1 gun.
Yeah.
So it was not.
So you just called it.
We called it basically. Yeah. So it was just kind of like, do we want to keep doing this? And it was already late. I think it was like 10 p.m. when we ended on a kind of a work night. So
I think that's another hard thing about scenario design, is designing objectives that don't become easier to achieve by only focusing on killing the enemy.
Yeah.
And so if there's not some other thing that's making it so that that's not worthwhile to do, then you're right, it becomes the go-to strategy, but that's just not then as fun, or it's not like what the point of the scenario was. Right. But you can't expect people to not do it, since that seems like the most straightforward way to win.
Well, it's hard too, because it's like if we intentionally move up, we're just like being intentionally like foolish,
right,
in a way. So it's like this weird thing where it's like how I describe playing against like corn armies or whatever. It's like people are like, oh, you just back up and shoot me, and it's like, well, if I move up, then I just you charge me and then I die. Like,
exactly.
I lose everything. So it's like, and I'm not trying to deny your fun or whatever, because they're like, I want to get in and melee, but I'm like, well, right.
But if you just do that, then I don't have any fun, and you just kill me.
It's this kind of where you got to walk that tightrope.
Yeah.
I think a turn limit would have been helpful. I think biggest thing, I think biggest learning is I think this needed a smaller board.
That sounds like it would have helped. Yeah.
We needed a smaller board and then maybe a turn limit. I think 6 turns would have been fine if we started on a 6x4. That would have cut off by itself 24 inches.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe by turn 2 we're actually fighting each other instead of like turn 3/4.
Right.
With any sort of serious shooting. I mean, we had a few las cannon shots back and forth turn 2, but that was kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But big things for me would be smaller board, which I think everybody was kind of like, yeah, that was just, we were really far apart. And then again, I kind of hinted at that. I wonder if like the core rules of how rapid fire weapons work in fourth just really struggles there. Although if they had worked the way I'm kind of imagining how it would have helped, it would have just made the problems they experienced even worse because we would have shot them even more.
That's also true.
So it's this other,
Yeah, I think that's always been an issue with 40K is balancing the lethality of shooting versus melee. And that's shifted from edition to edition as they've tried to find a balance. But it is really, I mean, it's similar in fantasy when you have like a gunline army or whatever kind of a thing. But I think some of that comes down to just game design of the system itself. Some of it comes down to balancing in the, points values and things. But I think it's just really hard to do that in a system where you could have 2 melee armies against each other, but you could also have 2 shooting armies, but you could also have one of each. And it's just hard to balance that.
For sure.
Unless you're doing some more really bespoke matchup where you're like, okay, because this is the specific matchup, now we can make all of these adjustments in order to create that experience in a way that works better. But it's hard to just do that generically through the basic rule set.
And a lot of it's, I mean, all the bad vibes or whatever, not that we had any bad vibes, but if anybody gets like this, you know what I mean? Like, oh my, it's all from expectations because you're like, I have the super amazing squad. The Terminators with lightning claws, they're going to shred everything. That is my expectation, right?
Yeah.
Because I read the rules and they ignore armor, they reroll wounds. Terminators have 2-up saves, 5-up invulns. They're just the best. They are super killy. And then you play them, and it's like, it's almost dispelled, right? It's like, oh, they're really slow.
I can never get them into combat.
I can't get them there, and they die. Yeah, so it's like, and that's where I think it's all expectations, and just kind of that being just demystified for some players, because I think everybody goes in to any war game, really. Maybe Warhammer's just the most popular, so it's the big example. But it's like, oh, my units do X, Y, and Z. I expect them to do X, Y, and Z. If they don't, then it's like, oh man, that was a disappointment. That unit is bad. Or whatever, right? And it's really easy to, I think, jump to those conclusions, especially after one game.
Yeah, rather than thinking about like how I used it didn't work with how they're supposed to be used.
For sure. So it's a balancing act for sure. And yeah, I agree with you. 40K is bounced back and forth. I think third famously was like, melee was too good because you did the sweeping from unit to unit, and then you'd have to like combat in the same round where you're like going across.
Bam, bam, bam.
So it's like, oh, I got into melee with my super squad, and they just killed your whole army in a turn, and it's like because you were tightly, bound up. And then fourth, I think dialed back on that a little bit wisely, but it's still I don't know. I don't think they did it too much. I think again it got exacerbated by maybe not enough terrain. And then also just the board size. Yeah. So
but
I like terrain dense boards though, so maybe I'm a little biased.
I do too, and it's hard with 40K because it's not necessarily built for that. But.
Right, because then you have the opposite problem potentially where it's like none of my shooting guys could actually do anything, and then the melee guy goes whoop, whoop,
he can just bounce from cover to cover, line of sight blocking to line of sight blocking, and then you're done. Yeah, I think that's really hard, and just goes back to what we've said before about when you have a game that's too abstracted and you're just playing this abstract, I'm here to beat you and win like by killing all your guys kind of a thing, then of course you're just going to fall into those approaches of like, well, this just is like the zero sum best thing for me to do, and this is the zero sum best thing for you to do, and you didn't do that, so now you lose.
Right.
Rather than something like, when we did the Great Battles of the American Revolution thing, and it's like, no, we're modeling something where things are not ideal for either player, and there's just going to be things that you have to figure out, how am I going to make the most out of this non-ideal situation. And that to me is where the most interesting decision making comes in. Not I have perfect knowledge of everything and I have perfect control over everything and I just have to now design the perfect system within that. for me and the way my brain works, that's just not as compelling as, oh, I have these like difficulties that I need to overcome that aren't going to work the way that I want, that there is this friction that I have to overcome in what's happening, because, or, you know, my guys are going to do what they're going to do, whether I want them to or not, or only sometimes, kind of a thing. Because I think that, again, to me, just makes a more interesting game that relies less on it feeling like, oh, these are the stats and these are the rules, and so that plus this equals that.
Right.
And so, and I mean, for me, that's where like a terrain dense board comes into that, because now that's one of those things that causes friction and kind of upsets the math, so to speak, in interesting ways. But yeah,
I think I'm coming, and I know we've been on this a long time, but I'm getting to the point where for sort of these custom scenarios, I almost, if I was designing one, I almost want to write the army lists of both sides.
Absolutely.
I think what I'm learning is because, again, it's all expectations. Mm-hmm. And if you have control of everything down to the army lists,
yeah.
And I know for some people, myself included, a lot of the fun is designing your army list, 100,000%. Yeah. But if the players come in knowing like, hey, Grant's writing my army, Grant's not gimping me on purpose, right, or whatever. Oh, I want to run this or whatever.
I mean, it's like trusting your DM in Dungeons and Dragons.
Sure.
You know?
And so for these sorts of narrative events, I almost am thinking like, hey, like you're talking about, let's set up units that aren't ideal. Let's create those weird situations. Let's have really janky deployment. Yeah. Let's not even let you guys pick deployment. It's just, this is what it is. You have a guy way off on his own over there. Why? I don't know. Narratively speaking, they're over there.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. There's no, and then the decision point is you guys pick up the reins. Here's the situation. Go.
Figure it out. Yeah. I totally agree.
And I have never done that before. I've always kind of leaned thus far, at least with our group, where it's like, you guys, here's my scenario.
Bring what you want.
Bring what you want, but then we'll fit in. But then I think, again, it goes back to people bring in, because they wrote their own army. They're thinking, this is what I'm expecting my units to do, X, Y, and Z. This is how I've strategically thought about it beforehand. This is what it hits me anyway, because I'm a guy who really goes in the tank before scenarios. And Mike, I think you could agree, or, you know, my teammate on this, like, I like look at, they sent like a picture of the board a few days ahead of time because they had like really worked on it. It's really great. And I was like,
instead of just enjoying the picture, you were like, how can I maximize my...
for sure. I was looking, I'm a bad person, but I'm like looking at it and I was like, okay, what side would I like better? And then I was thinking, and I think about that. Yeah. I don't know. I can't turn it off. I'm sorry.
It's not a bad thing. Yeah,
but I just, it just happens. Yeah. And, so I'm looking at it and I was like, okay, and I really thought about my army list. I wrote more than one and I was like, and I waffled back and forth. And eventually I just kind of went, I'm going to go with this one. I don't think I'll get to do as much. And it was more infantry, like rapid fire weapons focus versus like speed. And it basically became, the reason I did that was I just wanted our units together in a big clump rather than multiple waves, so to speak. And I'm like, you've got a bunch of attack marines. I've got a bunch of chaos marines. Let's move forward in a wall.
Yeah.
And anybody comes close, we'll just shoot them. But
yeah, I mean, I feel like that mindset and the way that your brain does think about those things is what would make you good at writing army lists for a specific scenario, because you actually can see, okay, in this type of board setup with these types of objectives, this army would be able to do these things, this army would be able to counter them in these ways, and you could actually come up then with balanced forces. And on the one hand, that's with historical things, it's like, well, these just are the armies that were there, and so that's one of the things that you're wrestling with. You're not making an army list kind of a thing. But then, there's also the possibility to, just with the story you're trying to tell. And so, for example, in the Lord of the Rings strategy battle game, a lot of the narrative scenarios that they have all these like really specific lists of like, you need 24 Morannon orcs, and then you need like these orc trackers, and then you need these, war grinders. And so they have these elaborate army lists of like, this is what would recreate this battle for Osgiliath or whatever kind of a thing. And that's because you're trying to design what that experience is going to feel like by down to the armies. So I think within a group like ours, especially once we've built up some armies and we're kind of aware of what each other has access to.
And that's why maybe 40K isn't the best right now, because nobody has
enough variety
built forces. But sorry, I interrupted. Continue.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the point where, at least with fantasy and soon with 40K, we could do something like that, where we're not designing an army list is like, okay, now you got to like build and paint all this extra stuff to do
Yeah.
it. It's like, no, just knowing what we all kind of have, or we could, share units or things if we need to. We could do that. And yeah, I just, again, agree that the way that your brain works would be really good at doing that, because you can see some of those eventualities or some of the ways that those things would interact.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's a way for me to, if I'm quote unquote GMing, a way for me to have a lot of fun in it is kind of seeing like, oh, did that work out in the way, or did they play it the way I thought I would do it?
Right.
And they played it completely. They'll probably play it very differently or whatever, because that was the joke. We always like, they're gonna do completely different than what you would have. But
yeah, but even in that, like,
I'm
you could
learning.
provide a little bit of like a strategy guide of like,
Sure.
these are the units you have. These are some ways that you might want to think about using them or whatever.
And then
I think for new players, that can be really helpful.
Lore, right? You could even do a little write-up. This is the unit, especially for, 40K too, but it always feels so good with fantasy. It's like, this is the 21st foot of Talabheim, and it's like, they have journeyed far to reach this battlefield. I don't know what voice I'm doing, but they've journeyed far, and it's like, it's led by Captain Grundbeck Schmigenhagen and whatever, and it's just like, he is, and I don't know. I could see like having a little write up. Oh, they're a swordsman, whatever, 4 wide, 6 deep. You're gonna want to play these as an anvil, etc. But then you also have a little lore. This is, and I could see that being really cute.
Yeah, and you can use
fun.
that to build up the sense of what's going on in the scenario,
Right,
and why
'cause
people are doing the things that they're doing. And
It's so easy, especially if you're not really injecting that consistently. After an hour in, it's really easy because everybody's been in the tank, especially if the GM too is one of the players. Times 10 then, because then the GM's in the tank thinking, because everybody tries, everybody cares, they're invested. It's really easy to lose track of the narrative thread.
Right, and even just be thinking about like, I need to roll 6s right now.
Yeah, like, okay, I'm rolling, 8 dice on my autocannons. I didn't rend with anything.
Yeah.
But all that to say, I think I'm learning kind of like what you're saying. I almost want to, if we do another big like narrative fantasy game, I'm getting kind of excited about. I want to like write both sides armies.
That'd be awesome.
And then like be like, this is what you guys get. Here's what you're gonna do, and then maybe like even have. We'll not even have, but also have control of the board. Like maybe I'll set up that. We always talk about, Empire, we never get the hill. Well, you guys are going to have all hills, because why wouldn't they? The Empire would set up on the hill because they're intelligent individuals, and it's like, they're going to have the hill.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe it's interesting, again, just to go back to the idea of wargaming coming out of more of that role-playing perspective, or that there is going to be a games master and things like that, because it was recognized then that all of this is true and that's how it needs to be.
But we've lost that.
Yeah, because it's moved to more of a, we want to be able to have like pickup games, or like I just go to the store and meet up with someone, and so we need to design a system that works at least most of the time when you're just doing that and you're rolling everything random. But when that just becomes the baseline and that's all the time, then you just get all these weird situations that don't necessarily feel like they make sense, with our random terrain deployment and things, and it's like, the hill just scattered to the center of the board.
Which I think produces a fun game experience,
it absolutely can, yeah.
But I think
then the problems we're talking about right now.
Exactly, yeah, because then you have like, I designed the scenario, and it's just like, this did not go how I thought it was going to go. But that was a lot to say. I played 2 games of 40K this month, and that was nice. I had a good time.
I'm looking forward to getting some more in. It's been now a long time since I've played, but we're hoping to early November get back to our campaign.
For sure.
The Aurelian Gate, and we'll see where that heads. But yeah, we're getting towards the holidays here, so I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if we only get a couple more games in before the new year. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see
how that ends up. But yeah, I'll just do a couple more quick things here. It was funny. On the film crew of 30 so people that I was on this last month, 3 or 4 of them were also Warhammer guys, which was just interesting to find out. It seems like a pretty high percentage versus the Gen Pop,
Out of a general 30 people. Yeah, that's pretty high.
10% of people, yeah. So, you just never know where you're going to find fellow hobbyists. So, don't be ashamed to talk about the things you're into and be excited about that, and you might just find new friends. Also, in the midst of it, I went and found a random game shop somewhere. And anytime I do that, I like to look around, see if they have used books, especially in there, used models and things, because you might just find old stuff or things that you can't find easily or just really good deals. and I came across one of my wargaming holy grails, the Inquisitor rulebook in pristine condition.
It looks nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. I have it here in front of me. It's pretty amazing. I'd love to at some point do a whole episode about it, kind of go through that. I played a little bit as a kid with my brother. I have some of the 54 millimeter models even. I think if we as a group did it, I'd probably make you all try it with 54 millimeter just because I have the models.
We could probably
if
3D print stuff at that point, right?
That's made it so much more accessible. The big issue is terrain. Yeah, but a lot of 28 millimeter terrain can work fine enough with it. You know, the main issues like doorways.
Yeah, just don't do buildings. Don't do buildings.
Yeah, that's where it gets tough. So we'll see, but it's really easy to port to 28 millimeter. Like we were talking about earlier, the Inc 28 movement started there, just porting this game, which is the battle for the Emperor's soul, and everybody plays an Inquisitor and their retinue, and you just are doing these sort of small skirmishes, and really built to be a campaign game, really an interesting combination of role-playing and wargaming together, where there's kind of an expectation that some light role-playing is happening before and after the battle, but that it's always going to like end in combat kind of a thing, and so the game's based around those combat encounters. But I remember when I was a kid, I had one copy of White Dwarf for most of my childhood, and then got a couple more towards the end of that. But in that issue, there was a battle report of Inquisitor, and that just was like blowing my mind, like how cool and narratively driven it was, and like all the stuff that was happening. And really lit up all the nerve centers in my brain kind of thing. So
those early 2000 battle reports were pretty hype too.
They did a great job with the photography and with the narrative flair of the writing. They'd usually have like a little short story at the beginning and the end that kind of summarized things, which is really cool. One funny thing though is when I was reading that as a kid, they would have these weirdly specific descriptions of the damage that was being done. Like, he caught the slug in his abdomen and then rolled over the gantry and fell to the floor, and then, you know, he got the missile impacted him in his groin, and it's just like, what is happening? Why are we saying all this? And then when I finally saw the rules years later, there's like a chart, and you roll like where did you hit the person. So like I hit you, but now I have to see, like we were talking about in BattleTech, like where on the person are they hit, and there's like a 5% chance that you hit them in the groin. So it's just like, oh, that's why they just kept saying people got hit in the groin for some reason.
Yeah, like, this is oddly specific.
Yeah. But it's a beautiful book. So much good art in there. A huge section that I hadn't seen before. The PDF I have of the rules was like just the rules. I didn't have any of the hobby section or the cool images and stuff. So I'm really excited to flip through that in more detail. And then at some point, even if it's just like a one-off, try it. But it's definitely more for me like a collector's thing of that was a core part of my childhood and playing those few games with my brother. And so to have the physical copy of it now is just a nice thing to have to flip through.
And again, like you were saying, kind of with Necropolis28 or whatever, solo buy-in. So if anybody wants to, if we're like, yeah, let's do this, we just be like, okay, go crazy on like 3 models.
Yeah, and
then
some people already have stuff that you can use, and you know, you got bits and things. I mean, that'd even be a fun activity. Like we just do like a bits bash day. Everybody brings their bits bins, and we just sit around and make our models. That'd be fun.
I concur.
Yeah. Did you have another thing you were gonna talk about Here I Stand? Let's hear that.
Another big thing that I do, now I guess it's annually now, because I've done it 2 years in a row. I'm trying to, every October I play a board game called Here I Stand from GMT Games, which is a 6-player asymmetric kind of war game. It's a board game, first and foremost. It's not a miniatures game. You're moving around chits. It's point-to-point movement. It's not hexagons.
Yeah.
But it simulates, I find very well, the Protestant Reformation in a way that's tenable to actually play, but while being quite detailed. Just high level for the rules. You can do everything from conquer the New World, take over, conquer and exploit the Mayans and Incas and Aztecs, to have theological debates between Martin Luther and, Eck and whatever, and maybe burn one of them or disgrace one alive if they do particularly badly.
Piracy as the Ottomans in the Mediterranean.
There's just a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot, is what I say. Nothing in particular is outrageously complicated once you kind of wrap your mind around it. It's just the number of options I find is pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, and it's pretty asymmetrical. Like if you're
That's
playing
the
as the
problem.
Protestants, it's a completely different game than if you're playing as the Ottomans. You're doing different actions, you're doing
Yes.
different things. So trying to get, what is it, a 6-player game?
6 people, yeah.
To try to get everybody to understand enough of what everybody else can do while also explaining in detail what each person can do.
Yes.
It's a big ask at the top end of
It's
that.
a big learning thing. So
Yeah.
last year, which was the first time I conned you and 4 other blokes to play this game with me, was I put a lot of time. I did like Google Doc write-ups of like what my impressions were of the strategy, and like, hey, this might be an easier faction, or hey, this might be a harder one. As I've played now twice, 2 full games, that's changed slightly, but I feel like I was roughly on the mark. But where was I going? I did a lot of pre-work, and then this is getting ahead of myself, but then now we're in the spring/early summer, we're playing Virgin Queen, which is the sequel game, which is very similar. The core rules are pretty much identical, but then basically change all the factions and then staple
move the
on
timeline ahead a little.
move the timeline and then staple on some like new systems / kind of remove a few of them.
Right, like the Spanish can be bringing treasure back from the New World.
Yeah, the
stuff like
Spanish
that.
are doing
the marriage
that.
thing.
That's the biggest thing. We should do a comparison episode at some point, maybe after we play Virgin Queen next time. But
Yeah.
I think right now I like Here I Stand better. I think that's
Okay.
usually universally agreed upon.
Interesting.
Maybe not universally, but I think that's generally seems to be. I think it's simpler.
I see, okay.
Which
Just
is
a
the
tighter experience.
It's tighter. Now the papacy and the Protestants are definitely playing their own game.
Yeah.
At times. This time we had a really early, man. I'm gonna start. What I love about this game, listeners, is that you get to say sentences like the one I'm about to say. We had a turn 2 Schmalkaldic League, so the Protestants became a political faction incredibly early. Whereas I think last year when
when
you
I played, it was very
turn
late.
4.
Yeah.
So we had a very different experience, and
Yeah.
the Protestants did very well
Awesome.
off the
Who
gate.
was playing as the Protestants?
My buddy, I don't know if I should name him. My buddy Dave. I guess the first names don't matter. But my buddy Dave was playing Protestants, and he did very well. He was rolling hot. The papacy player was really struggling. I kind of told him, because I played the papacy last year, and I didn't do very well. I think I focused on the wrong things. And I pretty much told the papacy, I'm like, you just got to go all in on anti-Reformation. Try that. I kind of got hokey pokeyed into trying to do some stuff in Italy and taking over a lot of key cities, and then got dragged into a war with France, which I had no hope of winning. And then that kind of dragged us both down into, I think, near last place. So we didn't, both me and France did poorly.
Yeah.
I said, just go all in. I said, your debate abilities are really good. They have I'm getting too specific, but they have certain things that they can do really good in theological debates because of cards they get consistently.
Right.
He just rolled so badly in his debates.
Oh,
His
man.
first debate, he rolled so bad that his best debater got disgraced and got taken off the board. And I was
Wow.
like, oh
Right
man.
away.
So,
and then to get an early Schmaldic League.
yeah, and
like
then
that.
and I was playing the Habsburgs. I ended up winning the game, which was I'm now kind of, after viewing that power and playing it now. I think this is it's what's called a card driven game for those listeners who don't know. So you get a hand of cards, and on each card there's a number in the top left that's anywhere from 1 to 5. And then there's text, and there's different types of cards. And basically, you can play a card for the number of points, and then you spend those points to do actions. Or you play it for the text, and you do the text of the card.
Some special ability or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of these cards, when you play them for the text, they get removed from the deck. Some, they stay in the deck every turn. And everybody's drawing from the same deck of cards.
Right. So some are better for certain factions than others. So sometimes you're just holding on to something because you don't want someone else to have it.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
And then the big missing key piece is diplomacy is so huge. Every round has a huge diplomacy phase where I encourage everybody to get up from the table and go.
Yeah, you scatter, have secret meetings over a snack.
Literally. And this is a very long game, worth noting. I think we started around 10:30 a little over a week ago, and we played until about 7 p.m.
Yeah.
So it's 9.5 hours, and we only played 5 turns. But the game was over after 5 turns, partly because like everybody went into think tank, and I think a lot of the people are like, I gotta go soon. I don't know if we can do another whole round because that might be an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But we went into the tank and got me to the score that I needed. But it was really neck and neck between me and the Protestants.
Nice.
And there was like some king making a little bit between people. The English player, I'm starting to think they're a lot harder than I thought they were. They're often recommended for new people because they're on their island and they're kind of defensible. But the French went like all out.
Oh, man.
And just nuked them, man. But then we kind of found out that you can sue for peace in this game. You can basically force peace. And you get all your stuff back, but they get a bunch of points. But because of how like you get points back when you get your key cities back, it ended up almost being a wash.
Oh, interesting.
So it was kind of, I've never seen anybody sue for peace yet, because it's you look at it, you're like, oh, they get a bunch of victory points for doing this. Why would I ever do this? I'm just going to fight to the last. But our English
they're
player
giving up the cities.
yeah. So the English player just did it, and then he basically his score went from dead last to like third.
Oh, wow.
Because he got like 5 key cities back, and then the French like kind of dropped by like 1. He got a bunch of VPs for winning the war, but he lost all those city VPs, so he got all those back onto his track, so he kind of stayed the same, and he actually went behind the English player.
Oh, wow.
So it was like,
so I guess it's just the situation. Sometimes that is the thing.
Well, he kind of like, I guess the takeaway would be like he went too hard, because he was like literally the first few turns, he's like, I'm killing England. He's like, I'm going to destroy England, and just went hard at it. Now, it was funny because me and the Pope player were like, because we were kind of natural allies, because we both had incentives to kind of keep the Protestants down a little bit. And I was talking to him first turn. I'm like, big picture, I want the French and the English fighting. I just want them fighting all the time. We're going to encourage them to fight. But then like the English were just doing so poorly in the war that I was like, we got to help the English. And the Pope
war's going to end.
The Pope was like, this game was like, I ain't helping anybody, which kind of made it hard. The Habsburgs are kind of the superpower. They have by far the most cards, generally speaking. And I had some turns where I really early on invested in the New World. I sent colonies like every turn I could until I had like maxed out, and I was rolling really hot on my colony rolls to where I was getting more cards. And then I conquered the Incas like turn 1 and got cards from them. So I was doing really good. Like by turn 2 and 3 and 4, there was a turn where I think I had like 10 cards, and I think like the most somebody else had was like 6. So I just had so many options, and because of that, I think they're just frankly a really good faction. They can maybe be a little overwhelming, and because you're so good, I think everybody should kind of be gunning for you. And I think what I love about this game is it's all about talking.
Right. You have to convince people to do what you want them to do.
At the end of the day, nobody can win if all 5 of the other people gang up on you.
No, not a chance.
You cannot win. So it's so much politique and kind of like, hey, what can we do? And convincing people you're not a threat. And they identified this kind of at the table. They're like, Grant, here's what he's going to do. He's going to keep everybody about the same, but he'll like be a little bit above everybody else, and then he'll win that way. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, I think that is kind of what I'm trying to do kind of subconsciously, because I just don't want people to attack me. So I'm like, French and English just fight each other. So I'd like help the English.
Right.
Like, just keep fighting them.
Right, because if they're fighting each other, they're not fighting you.
Me, right? And then the Pope and the Protestant, you guys kind of, and then the Ottoman player was very passive this game, which was interesting. He didn't really invade into Hungary for quite some turns. He went harder into piracy, actually, which I tried to stop him on, but eventually it just kind of, those last couple of turns, I was just like, I don't have the cards, unfortunately. I had so much stuff going on that because me and the French were like hot and cold was the game. Like one time I allied with them, then the next turn I declared war and then like took a bunch of cities from them, and then I'm like, hey, let's make peace. And then he's like, okay. So I somehow like orchestrated all this, and then he just went back in England and just took more English cities. So then when the English really sued for peace and got those back, the French really got screwed because now they lost some of their cities and all those ones. Yeah. Right. So it's just the French really kind of. So
there was a new guy playing, right?
Yes, we had a new guy.
What was his experience?
So, I think he had a good time. He was the English player.
Okay.
So he got everybody else had played. This was their second game of Here I Stand, and of the system, this would be their third game because we had played Virgin Queen earlier this year.
Same group, yeah.
So I would say everybody at the table except for this one guy kind of really knew what was going on for the most part. Maybe not super 100%, but everybody started except for this one guy. Like I would say 80 to 85% understanding of like right away. I recommended to him England because I said, you'll be on an island. You might be fighting the French early, but you can kind of do this, and you have this fun kind of side game where you're Henry VIII and you're trying to give birth to Edward. You're going through your wives, maybe you kill a few, etc. That's always fun to roll on the pregnancy chart, which is a real thing.
Yeah.
And I just love that so much. But he like was trying to get a divorce grant. Again, I love that I get to have these sentences.
Yeah, that there's a
he was trying to get
he
was trying to get a divorce from the Pope because if the Pope grants him his first divorce, it kind of moves him on that table faster. But the Pope would not grant him a divorce without giving him a card, which I would say most of the time is the correct thing because the Pope has his own struggles and he shouldn't give away
that for
something
for
free. But the English were getting hammered so hard, man. I'm like, just give him the divorce, man. And he would not do it. So eventually he had to play the English like his home card, which is like usually your best card to do it. Fortunately, he rolled a 6 on his pregnancy roll, gave birth to a healthy Edward on his first wife.
Wow, impressive.
So I was like, or second wife, I guess. But and I was just like, wow, that was very, and that gives you like 5 victory points, which to put in perspective, you need 25 to win. So it's like you're 1/5 of the way there off of 1 die roll. Yeah. So no other faction really gets to do that. You could get very unlucky though and take a lot of investment to get to that point if you're unlucky with the English.
And then only get 5 points.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but things were going on. They just got really stymied. The French player got revolt in Ireland 2 turns in a row, which basically just is a kick in the teeth for the English. So he played that, made them have to deal with the foreign war, invaded at the same time. The English kind of dealt with the foreign war. Next round, they revolted again. And I'm like, oh. And it's like, if anybody else gets that, they're not playing it for the event. They're going to play it for the number because they don't care. But it was the French twice in a row.
That hurts.
So he was just behind.
Of course, to the new guy, too.
Yeah, so he was behind the 8 ball pretty early. But he ended up, because of the suing for peace, we really looked through it. He ended up being, I think, in 3rd.
Okay.
At the end, so he really rebounded.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
So it was, but at the end at the end of turn 5, it was between really me and the Protestants.
Okay.
The Protestants were just doing gangbusters. They were close to a religious auto victory, which is if you flip 50 spaces to Protestantism, you just win instantly. He was in like the mid 40s.
Whoa.
So he was like, he was like,
let's do one more turn, guys.
He was doing really well. And I was had a lot of points just kind of naturally. I circumnavigated with Magellan, which was excellent. Got a lot of points from that. And I did almost all the exploration. There was, I think the British discovered maybe the Great Lakes or something and got some points there.
Lucky them.
Yeah. But, nobody else was really doing a lot in the New World. I was just, because again, I have so many cards. I'm like, yeah, I'll send a conquistador over there. We'll see if we get the Aztecs. Really, after the Incas, I don't think anybody took out the Aztecs or the Mayans. I did not roll. I don't think I ever got Cortez, which sucked because Cortez is really good. I got all these like 2nd tier conquistadors. Didn't roll very hot on those expeditions, but my explorations were great. And I just kind of won through all that. And again, just politique. I really love that game system. It's very long. It's very involved.
But if you get the group together that's like, yeah, I can spend a day doing this, then yeah, it's really a rewarding experience.
Right. I think when I got the game, this is the 500th anniversary edition that came out in 2017 because it's 500 years after Martin Luther did it in 1517, nailing the 500 theses or the 95 theses. And, it's a really great system. It's got a mounted board, all the chits and stuff. It's just perfect. But when I first got it, I'm like, I'm never going to play this. Or I'm going to play it once in my entire life. And then, we kind of started this group in like 2020-ish. And then 2021, 2022, it's really starting to grow. And then I'm like, maybe I can kind of do this. And then we did it the first time. And I remember being like, telling people like 3 months ahead of time, like, I want to do this in October. Can you just clear a Saturday and commit? And I was and I think this is good for listeners. I don't know if anybody who listens to this plays really long war games, multiplayer ones, like my success story is basically you need to plan months ahead of time.
Yeah,
that's my
get
biggest
people to
advice.
agree that that's the day they'll hold it.
100%. And I tried to be pretty open and honest. Like, hey, this is like a 12-hour commitment. If you cannot commit to that,
That's
please
fine. Just don't
come.
Right.
Like I would be like, I don't want you to come, and then 6 hours in be like, I have to go. Now, if an emergency happens, of course, but we've been fortunate that hasn't happened. But like, I just didn't want to have to be like, oh, I got to go to the thing with my wife at 5 p.m. I'm like, no, this is what we're doing today, and this is what you're committed to. So, and everybody's really bought in, and I think everybody's had a pretty darn good time.
Seems like it.
Everybody always, when we get started, I think there's all this excitement because everybody knows what they're about to get into. And then by turn 2, everybody's like, oh man, they're a buzz with like the options. And then the politics just go in. Turn 1, like, boom, what are we doing? And everybody goes up, what do you want to do this game? What are you trying to do? And then everybody's starting showing their hands off. Oh, what cards do you have? Oh, I'm not going to show you. Oh, why not? Like, what? And it's just, I can't recommend it enough. Virgin Queen is I'm excited to play that in maybe 6 months or so. Get a second play of that. That has a few differences. My favorite part of it is the marriages. I missed that. I think that is such an easy add to the system that adds so much of the politics that I love.
Right, since you can marry off people.
I love that I can go to my friend and be like, hey, I've got this lady. She's quite attractive. You have that man. He's quite attractive. Let's try to have a baby. Let's do
your
it.
guy's not very attractive, but if you give me this, we can make this happen.
Yeah, we might both benefit here, and then they add into that with the English player with Queen Elizabeth. She's like the most attractive lady at the start of the game, but she can jilt people.
And she gets old.
And she gets old, because every turn, all the women get less attractive, basically, but the men only, I think, get less attractive 66% of the time.
They model the misogyny really well.
They model the misogyny, indeed. And it's just, I don't know. I love that whole system because it just adds to this is just like politics side stuff. Maybe you get some points if you have like start a dynasty or whatever. But then they add all this other stuff with like science and artists and that's cool because they simplify the religious game quite a bit.
Right, since that's not as core to the period anymore.
Right, and then they kind of change how the Protestants work where they're less like completely bespoke, as you would say, and like unique and just focused on this to being like this weird like underground thing that like starts revolts and just like out of nowhere be like, boom, all of a sudden that town in France, now they're the Huguenots and they're no longer, they don't believe in the king and it's just, whoa, where did they just come out of nowhere and they're like an insurrectionist faction or whatever. And then I don't know, but then there's some carryovers. It's like the Ottomans, they're kind of doing a lot of the same stuff, but they're building the Suez Canal a little bit. That's kind of cool. They're not doing that. And Here I Stand, they're just like, push west, brothers.
Yeah. Pirate. I feel like I remember Virgin Queen having more naval combat, but maybe that's just because I was the Protestants in Here I Stand, and so I just wasn't building boats.
They cannot build boats in Here I Stand, so you're right. Versus you were the Spanish,
right? So that was like my thing, I guess, was having a navy.
Because you can build the Armada,
right?
So yeah, there's definitely more of an. I would agree with you. I think there's a bigger naval focus because Virgin Queen also adds. Like piracy for more factions. Everybody can kind of do piracy, not just the Ottomans, but then you have like captains, so you can have Sir Francis Drake for the English, who's really good captain or whatever, and you could send him out to Cuba and do all this crap over there. There's just so much going on. Virgin Queen, I think, is just a little more. There's more tools in the toolbox, and I think it can be probably not the one I would start with. I think Here I Stand's got a lot going on already, but like the new world is quite simple. It's just like I'm sending an expedition, and then at the end of the turn, what happened?
But leveling up from Here I Stand to Virgin Queen is a pretty smooth transition,
right?
Because it's not that much different, and it's all the same systems or like same basic underlying mechanics.
Yeah, so. It's a lot of pay points to do something, and then resolve that at some point during the turn, if not right now. And then, or read the text on the card, do what the card says. Yeah. And then you get points for controlling certain cities on the board, etc., and for other things.
So simple.
So simple, yeah. But I really recommend. I think the rules are for free on GMT's website. Just look up Here I Stand. There's generally pretty good resources on YouTube. There's one good video that kind of summarizes not everything, but a lot of stuff in like 15 minutes, which I always send to new players. I can't recommend it enough, though. But if you can listeners, if you can convince, because I think maybe that's the right word to use, if you can convince 5 other people to commit to a 10-hour to 12-hour game day, especially your first time, on a Saturday or whatever, do it like 3 months in advance. Be like, hey, this is a game I got. I think it's really cool. I think you would like it. It's going to take 12 hours to play.
Yeah.
I want to do it on a Saturday. Can you commit to, I don't know, we're in October. Can you commit to January 14th? Can you pencil that in? Can you talk to your significant other or whatever? Can you look at that? Does that work for you? Oh, it doesn't? Okay, maybe we can try it the next weekend, the 20th or whatever. And then just making sure everybody's got that in way ahead of time. And then I would really encourage, if you're the person setting it up, learn the rules for everything.
Definitely. So you can teach it and put together those aids you did.
Yeah, put together some stuff. Yeah. Maybe record a couple of I even recorded some videos for Virgin Queen.
To have seen the components before. Yeah.
Yeah. So do a little bit of homework, because I think the hardest part of this is because it's asymmetric. So you have to almost teach the game 6 times. Not quite that bad, but there's enough
unique
differences.
Stuff for everybody. So to some degree.
Yeah. It can. That's the hard part. But once you get the people in and they get the thing, now you've got, and they get the glint in their eye, and they're like, I get to, this is amazing. We get to have marriages, and I get to hire Shakespeare, and he's going to write me a masterpiece, and that's going to give me points. You can hire Shakespeare. I love that. So just a system I really hold near and dear to my heart. There's actually a prequel now called Tanto Manta. It's actually only a 4-player game.
Oh, interesting.
And I've heard it's more complicated.
Oh, wow.
In certain ways. So the military side of Here I Stand and Virgin Queen is actually quite simple. Especially all the units are exactly the same. The only difference is some are mercenaries, some are regulars. And mercenaries function exactly the same in combat. It's just some cards in the deck
screw you over
if you have mercenaries. Like you bribed them, or they deserted you, or whatever, and mercenaries are cheaper. That's really all there is. Whereas Tanto Manta, I believe there's actual different unit types.
Okay, so more of a focus on that.
Yeah, so, but it's only a 4-player game. I've heard some people absolutely love it, think it's the best one, and it's a bit more divisive, and I've heard other people like, this is not the same. I don't like it as much. So I'd be curious to look into that at some point.
Interesting.
But I don't know. It's a beautiful thing, and it really, best part of GMT and a lot of these historical games, I feel like I learned so much about you're playing like a real thing, and you see the interplay of this time period, and all the cards are like real people or events that happen. Yeah. And you can look in the back of the playbook of every card and every play of everything in here and be like, oh, that person did this at this time.
Yeah, and you can start to see that grand scale of how all of those things were interplaying. When you learn about it in history class, it all feels like isolated incidents.
Exactly. Yeah. And so then when I see you see the card with the printing press, and you're like, what? The printing press? It's like, it's the best card in the deck for the Protestants. So everybody sees the printing press, and they're like, oh, the printing press. Oh God, we can't. And then though literally, and because of how the Protestants work, where they can take cards out of the discard pile, so you have to anybody else gets the printing press. You have to completely rethink oh, I can't just play this first, because then he could get it, and then it goes to him, and it's just, oh, I love it. Sorry, I'm getting so excited. I'm getting goosebumps right now. But Here I Stand, love it. I had a great time. I'm excited to play again and next year, and then do a different faction. I want to try English next year.
Yeah,
I've found they've been both times.
Yeah, they've
been card starved. I want to figure that out, and then I want somebody to play the Papacy too, because right now it looks like the English and the Papacy are actually the 2 hardest factions to win with. The Papacy is basically you just get your teeth kicked in the whole game. And it looks like their best cards don't really start showing up till turn 5, turn 6. And in our 2-play experiences, I think we've both ended at turn 5 or turn 6. So you can very easily win by that point. So you have to somehow stall the game or just be kicking the butt out of the Protestants, which you could probably do if you roll
if you're
really,
getting other people to play along.
if you're getting other people to play along and you're rolling hot on your theological debates and stuff, and if you get in, like our papacy even had an early Pope, I think Julius III or Paul III, which is the first good Pope, where you start winning ties when you do burn books. Oh, I love talking about this. When I talk this game, I just love saying all the things. Like, oh, I'm going to do a burn books action.
Yeah, you love burning books.
I just love it. It's just so great. I love saying that I get to say that in a game, and it feels like that's what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm going too far again. So, did you have anything further you wanted to add about your last month? Those were my big things. A couple of Warhammer games, and here I stand.
Yeah, the last thing is just we've got, last year we did a Halloween special, kind of like 40K zombie thing, and that was drawing on some childhood experiences once again, as many of my hobby ventures do. But that was something I'd also read about or seen forum posts online or whatever, and my brother and I had cobbled together some zombie rules to play at the end of a day of playing Lord of the Rings or 40K or whatever, and we just had a little bit of time left, so we made this custom system to do that.
Sure.
So last year we did it based on 40K 4th Ed, and I found something online that it was like from the era, and so I think it might have been a 5th edition thing, but on some like deep Daka forum somewhere. And so I pulled that, made some modifications. My thinking behind that was largely, well, our group is in the midst of playing 40K 4th Ed, so that's what people are familiar with right now. They can also then just use the models that they have and feel like it's, oh, my guys are doing this kind of thing. But there ended up being enough things that didn't quite work that well with the 4th Ed base rules. And then I also brought in a few other friends from a different group that hadn't really played 4th Ed 40K, and so a lot of those things were then really archaic to them or didn't really make sense.
Needlessly complicated.
Yeah, it was definitely needlessly complicated. But the whole vibe was, I think we had like 6 or 8 players or something like that. People. And everybody had one squad, and you could spend a certain number of points on it and start it at all these different spots. I think we had a big L-shaped board. And so I think it was, just split the players between the two short ends, and then they were all working towards the corner where the two tables met. And there was, very similar to what you were just describing in that other custom scenario. We had a shuttle that everyone was trying to get to, and you had to collect some fuel along the way to power it. You couldn't shoot at other player factions unless you were in the evacuation zone, and then it was no holds barred. But you could do like diplomacy and both escape if you wanted to, kind of a thing. And overall, it was really fun. I mean, there's like weapons caches you can get and fun stuff you can find and little surprises. And I just kind of GM'd the whole thing. And it seemed like everybody had fun, but it was definitely overly complicated. So this year, I want to do the same thing. It sounds like a lot of people are busy this week coming up towards Halloween.
I might miss it.
Yeah, but I think I'll still be able to get a handful of people together to do it. But I'm going to base it on one-page rules, Grimdark Firefight this time, which is their skirmish system. And so it's going to be much simpler base rules, which again is just everybody has a quality stat. So if you're trying to do a thing, you roll that. And if you're trying not to die, you roll your defense stat. And those are the only stats. I've made a few modifications just because I think some of that system doesn't really work how I want this to feel. And I've ported a few things back from 40K vibes at least. So we'll see how that all feels.
Are you going to have the same like quantity of zombies? Because there was quite a lot when we played. I think that's kind of where it got maybe slow. It's like we were
that's also an issue with being like bogged down in the way that 40K works, because you're just stuck in melee.
For sure.
So that's something I want to think some more about. Again, I was so busy this last month on that project that I didn't have the time I was hoping to have to solve some of these issues. But I think it's an interesting conundrum just with any type of zombie game, where like, how do you model the press of the horde but still make it fun and not just feel like I'm stuck here fighting the horde?
Sure.
So I think one thing I'm going to implement is just resurrection. So you can just like respawn as your guys die, and everybody's an individual guy, not a squad now. So you'll have a little bit more maneuverability to move things around or like run interference. And they'll just be these spawn points that you can like turn on as you go past, and then your guys will come back there. So I think people can run a little bit more fast and loose and not be worried so much about that. Yeah. And I'm hoping that increases the energy and the pace of the game a little bit.
Right.
So we'll see how that goes. But I was working on it a little bit this afternoon. There's still a bit of work I need to do. But I think a lot of that's more back-endy stuff for me running the game. I think I'm close to having the stuff done to send to people. But another aspect of it is I'm going to pare down the list building, so to speak. So when we did it last year, it was just pick whatever you want out of your codex. But then we had all these random things, like somebody's playing Necrons, which is like, why did somebody pick Necrons? This is not working very well. Things like that. So this time I just took from the one-page rules army builder some stat blocks that make sense, and it's like everybody's just going to choose from this set of stat blocks, and everybody gets the same hero for free, kind of a thing, so that there's not as much diversity, but that way it'll be easier for like, oh, we all only need to know these stats, and that's everybody. And you can kind of represent them however you want with whatever models you want, kind of a thing. Just get guys that look like they have the gun, at least, sort of an idea.
Sure.
So I think that's going to work fine. I still need to tweak a few things and maybe come up with some smaller points adjustments that you could, like little upgrades that you could get to help make the points work out more evenly, which again is an issue, I think, with one-page rules and modern 40K, is just that it's really hard to just get those exact points values because there's not really options in War Gear as much anymore to like dial it in. There is a little more in one-page rules, but so anyways, I might come up with a few like smaller single 5-point things so that you can dial in to get exactly the points, because right now it's not quite there.
It's a little difficult. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, and I mean, I think it's probably going to result in, I'm sure there's an optimal build, and if you got just these guys, you'd be way better than if you took these combination of guys or whatever. But I think with you not there, everyone else won't think about that. So no, I'm just kidding. Just to go back to what we were talking about earlier. You're not the bad guy.
I know.
You're just the smart guy.
We'll go with that.
But anyways, I think the whole vibe last time and again this year is just going to be, we're just here to shoot zombies. And so I think we're just going to roll with it. And if somebody is seeming overpowered, that's where me as the GM can just pour more zombies onto them, and it's fine.
That's true.
That's what we're there for. So I'm not too worried about the balance necessarily. I think everyone's going to enjoy just rolling some dice, shooting some zombies, and trying to get to the evac shuttle, which I think I'll just keep that the same.
I felt like it really did come down to just politicking again, because I think I won barely with like a Necron on the thing, and everybody was shooting at me, but they didn't kill the Immortal or whatever because he's pretty hard to kill.
Yeah.
But it was just like I was getting dogpiled in the beginning. Like I thought I was like had no hope,
right?
Like because Necrons kind of suck in melee, and I convinced the Blood Angel guy, "Hey, can you come back here and help me clear these?" And he was slaughtering zombies by like the bucket load,
right? Because he had a bunch of assault guys,
right? So I'm like, sweet. Oh. So I was just like moving up the board, slow and steady, and I just happened to get there. And I remember talking to, I forget who it was. It was one of the guys in the other group, and I'm like, "Hey, we can both go. We'll like leave at the same time. It'll be great." And then just didn't do that because I'm a bad person. But yeah, that was fun.
Yep. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited for it, but again, it's kind of getting thrown together faster than I was hoping for. But maybe we'll do an episode after that and talk a little bit more about how it went. I don't know exactly what we have planned coming up, but just wanted to, as we're now both getting back into the swing of things, do this catch-up episode, and then we will figure out a little bit more of a plan moving forward. But I think we definitely want to do a more full review of 40K 4th Ed. And,
definitely on the docket. I feel like I've played it enough now that I
have an opinion.
I have some pretty, maybe not, I have pretty strong opinions.
Yeah. And then we'll maybe give it the same treatment that we've done with the Warhammer Fantasy, where we'll review a couple army books, design a scenario, play that scenario, and that'll give us a bunch of episodes. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. If you guys have ideas of what you want us to talk about, let us know.
For sure.
Apparently people love BattleTech. Maybe we'll do some more BattleTech content.
Yeah. I know somebody wanted one guy in one of the comments said he wanted a Skaven army book review.
Oh, but yeah.
I don't have the army painted
You better
yet.
get painting, Grant.
I'm working on it. But that Chaos Space Marine, if we do that army book review, that's going to be the longest army book review I think we'll ever do, because there's too many options in that book. So we'll have to figure that out. But
have to do two parts, or I don't know.
Something, yeah. But we'll figure it out. But yeah, no, I'd be curious to hear what listeners want to hear. Just cool too to note that we're about 6 months since we started.
Oh wow! All right, I haven't been keeping track.
This is episode 26.
Nice.
So it's been about half a year, I think, just about now. So
I think we did pretty good.
I think we've done pretty good. Yeah. We've done pretty good.
Saved us on the weekly thing last week, so
yeah,
thanks for that.
I was just like, I can't not, especially because the BattleTech one was blowing up. So I'm like, and then this will be
do nothing.
This will be the week that we just skip, and I'm like,
Well, if you want to see more of Grant painting and chatting, let us know, because
Yeah.
he can keep doing that as well.
Yeah, indeed. Or maybe we'll do a combo one. Maybe we
Yeah.
can both talk while we have hand cams awkwardly,
Yeah, there we
and
go.
then I don't show you what I'm painting half the time.
So it goes. You know,
Did
we're
s-
just getting started on
I
the
did
video
some
side of
learning
things.
on
Yeah.
that, yeah. So appreciate everybody's patience with me. But I think I'm good. Are you all set?
Yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about. But again, please just let us know in the comments if there's specific stuff you want us to cover, because I'd rather make stuff that people want to hear than stuff that we're like, I don't know, someone want to hear this? Well,
Yeah,
let's see.
for sure. Yeah, if you're desperate for BattleTech content, I guess let us know. We can figure it out.
Yeah, we'll just start playing
We'll
Battletech.
just start playing BattleTech.
Cool. All right. Well, this has been Refused Plank. I'm Cam.
And I'm Grant.
Until next time.
Yep. See ya.
Bye.